$3 billion. That's how much the anti-anxiety medication industry made last year by convincing you that your sensitivity is a sickness. They built an empire on the belief that your racing thoughts are a disease that needs to be cured. But what if they're wrong? What if every sleepless night, every moment of overthinking, every surge of nervous energy isn't a breakdown, but a breakthrough trying to happen? What if the real epidemic isn't anxiety, but the suppression of the most powerful force for change that humans possess? Your anxiety isn't your enemy. It's your edge. And the world is terrified of what might happen when you finally understand that. That feeling in your chest right now, the tightness, the flutter, the racing thoughts that wake you at 3 a.m., they're not your enemy. They're your power source waiting to be unleashed. You've been told your whole life that anxiety is weakness, that it's something to overcome, to push down, to medicate away. But what if everything you've been taught about anxiety is wrong? What if that energy coursing through your veins isn't holding you back? It's actually trying to propel you forward? Let me tell you about a truth that society doesn't want you to discuss. Your anxiety is your superpower in disguise. It's the fuel that drives innovation, creativity, and transformative change. It's the spark that has launched every great achievement in human history. Think about it. Every person who has ever done anything remarkable felt that same churning in their stomach, that same shortness of breath, those same doubts whispering in their ear. The difference wasn't that they didn't feel anxiety. It's that they learned to harness it. When you feel anxiety, what's really happening? Your senses become heightened. Your mind becomes razor sharp. Your body floods with energy. These aren't symptoms of weakness. They're signs that you're preparing for something important. Pay attention. This matters. How many times have you felt that surge of anxiety before doing something that changed your life? Before asking someone out on a first date? Before standing up for what you believed in? Before taking that leap into a new career? That anxiety wasn't trying to stop you. It was preparing you to perform at your absolute, but somewhere along the way, we got it twisted. We started believing that feeling calm all the time was the goal, that if we weren't perpetually serene, something was wrong with us. What a tragic misunderstanding of human potential. Look at nature. A seed doesn't grow in perfect conditions. It grows because it's under pressure. It grows because it's fighting its way through the soil, reaching for the light. The pressure creates the flower. The resistance creates the strength. Your anxiety is telling you something profound. You're on the edge of growth. When you feel that familiar tightness in your chest, that's not a warning to retreat. It's an invitation to advance. It's your inner wisdom saying, this matters enough to make you uncomfortable. This matters enough to make you afraid. This matters enough to make you grow. But here's where most people get stuck. They feel the anxiety and immediately try to escape it. They run from the very energy that could transform their lives. They numb it with distractions, with substances, with endless scrolling through social media, anything to avoid feeling that intensity. What if, instead of running from your anxiety, you learn to run with it? What if you could harness that tremendous energy and channel it into creating the life you've always dreamed of? Think about the times you felt most alive. Were they times of perfect comfort, or were they times when your heart was racing, your palms were sweaty, and you did something brave anyway? Those moments of anxiety weren't your weakness showing, they were your strength. Your anxiety is trying to tell you something important. It's pointing you toward what matters most to you. When you feel anxious about speaking up in a meeting, it's because you have something valuable to contribute. When you feel anxious about pursuing a dream, it's because that dream truly matters to you. Your anxiety is your internal compass pointing toward your true north. But society has conditioned us to believe that if something makes us anxious, we should avoid it. What a recipe for a small life. What if instead we used anxiety as a guide? What if we said, if it makes me anxious, it's probably worth doing? Think about the people you admire most. Do you admire them because they never face fear or anxiety, or do you admire them because they felt those things and moved forward anyway? Courage isn't the absence of anxiety. It's the wisdom to understand that anxiety is the price we pay for doing something meaningful. Your anxiety is like a surge of electricity. In its raw form, it can feel overwhelming. But when properly channeled, it can light up the world. Just as electricity needs proper circuits to become useful, your anxiety needs proper. Let me share with you what happens in your body when anxiety kicks in. Your heart beats faster, providing more oxygen to your brain and muscles. Your breathing quickens, preparing you for action. Your senses sharpen, helping you focus on what's important. These aren't signs of malfunction. They're signs that your body is preparing you for excellence. But we've been taught to interpret these sensations as danger signals. We feel our heart race and think something's wrong. We feel our thoughts speed up and think we're losing control. What if we've been reading these signals backward? What if these sensations aren't warning signs, but power-up signals? Every single person in this room has felt anxiety. Every single one of you has experienced those moments of doubt, fear, and uncertainty. But what if that shared experience isn't our weakness? What if it's our greatest strength? What if anxiety is the force that connects us all, that drives us all to grow, to create, to become more than we are? When you start to see your anxiety this way, everything changes. Instead of dreading those moments of heightened energy, you start to welcome them. Instead of trying to calm down, you learn to channel that energy into positive action. Instead of seeing anxiety as your enemy, you recognize it as your ally in disguise. But let me be clear, this isn't about pretending anxiety feels good. It's about understanding that discomfort is the price of growth. Just as a muscle must be stressed to grow stronger, your comfort zone must be stretched to expand. Your anxiety is the stretching sensation of your life expanding. Think about a time when you pushed through anxiety to do something important. Remember how alive you felt? Remember how proud you were afterward? That wasn't despite the anxiety, it was because of it. The anxiety gave you the energy, the focus, and the drive to do something remarkable. Now I want you to think about something that makes you anxious right now. Maybe it's a conversation you need to have. Maybe it's a change you need to make. Maybe it's a dream you've been too afraid to pursue. Feel that anxiety rising just thinking about it. Good. That's not your weakness showing. That's your power source charging up. You know that voice in your head that says you're not ready? That you need more preparation? That you should wait until the timing is perfect? That voice isn't trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you small. And every time you listen to it, you give away a piece of your power. The truth about anxiety is that it shows up most powerfully when we're on the verge of something magnificent. When we're about to step into our greatness, when we're about to make a difference in the world. It's like an internal alarm clock saying, wake up, this is your moment. But most people hit the snooze button. They roll over and go back to sleep, back to comfort, back to the familiar. They tell themselves they'll do it tomorrow, next week, next year. And that's how dreams die, not in dramatic moments of failure, but in quiet moments of postponement. Your anxiety isn't asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be present, to be fully alive in this moment, to bring all of your energy, all of your attention, all of your being to what matters. When you start to understand this, everything shifts. That presentation that makes your stomach churn, that's not your weakness showing. That's your excellence preparing to emerge. That difficult conversation that makes your heart race, that's not your fear holding you back. That's your courage gathering strength. We don't grow in spite of our challenges, we grow because of them. Every moment of anxiety is an opportunity for transformation. Every flutter of nervousness is a chance to prove to yourself that you're stronger than you think. But here's where most people get stuck. They wait to feel ready. They wait for the anxiety to go away. They wait for perfect conditions. And while they're waiting, life is passing them by. The truth is, you'll never feel completely ready. The anxiety will never completely disappear. And that's exactly as it should be, because readiness is a myth. Growth happens in the space between comfort and panic. That's where the magic lives. That's where transformation occurs. That's where you discover what you're truly capable of. Think about the most meaningful moments in your life, the ones that truly mattered. Were they comfortable or were they charged with that electric energy we call anxiety? When you held your child for the first time, when you said, I do, when you started your own business, when you stood up for what you believed in. These moments weren't comfortable. They were powerful. Your anxiety is like a spotlight, illuminating what matters most to you. When you feel anxious about something, it's because deep down you know it's important. Your anxiety is your soul's way of saying, pay attention. This matters. But we've been taught to see anxiety as a warning to stop, to retreat, to play it safe. What if we've been reading the signs backward? What if anxiety isn't a stop sign? It's a green light. What if it's not saying danger ahead, but rather opportunity ahead? The energy of anxiety and the energy of excitement are exactly the same in your body. The only difference is how you interpret them. When you feel that surge of energy before something important, you get to choose. Will you call it anxiety in retreat? Or will you call it excitement in advance? This isn't about positive thinking or denying your feelings. It's about understanding the true nature of anxiety and working with it instead of against it. It's about recognizing that anxiety is not your enemy, it's your ally in disguise. Think about an athlete before a big game. Are they calm? No. Their heart is racing. Their palms are sweaty. Their mind is alert. These aren't signs that they're not ready. These are signs that they're perfectly prepared for peak performance. The same is true for you. When you feel that surge of anxiety, your body is preparing you for excellence. Your senses are sharpening. Your focus is narrowing. Your energy is rising. These aren't symptoms to be cured. They're superpowers to be channeled. But here's the key in it. You have to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to learn to trust that the anxiety isn't trying to hurt you. It's trying to help you grow. This doesn't mean you'll never feel fear. It doesn't mean you'll never have doubts. It means you'll learn to see these feelings as natural parts of the growth process. Just as a butterfly must struggle to emerge from its cocoon, you must move through anxiety to emerge into your full potential. Your anxiety is like a chisel, sculpting you into the person you're meant to become. Each moment of discomfort is removing something that's no longer serving you. Each challenge is revealing the masterpiece within, but society has taught us to run from discomfort, to seek constant ease, to believe that if something feels hard, we're doing it wrong. What a tragic misunderstanding of human potential. The truth is, if everything feels easy, you're not growing. If nothing makes you anxious, you're not challenging yourself enough. Every great achievement in human history was born in moments of anxiety. Every breakthrough, every innovation, every act of courage began with someone feeling exactly what you're feeling right now. The difference wasn't in what they felt. It was in what they did with those feelings. Your anxiety is trying to tell you something important. It's saying, this matters enough to make you uncomfortable. This matters enough to make you uncertain. This matters enough to make you grow. When you understand this, anxiety becomes your compass. Instead of running from what makes you anxious, you start moving toward it because you understand that the things that make you most anxious are often the things that will help you grow the most. Think about the regrets people share at the end of their lives. They rarely regret the things they did. They regret the things they were too afraid to do, the conversations they never had, the chances they never took, the dreams they never pursued. Because anxiety held them back, but you're learning a different way. You're learning to see anxiety not as a wall, but as a door. Not as a stop sign, but as an invitation. Not as your weakness, but as your power source. What if every anxious thought you've ever had wasn't a sign of weakness, but a sign of wisdom? What if those racing thoughts weren't confusion, but clarity trying to break through? What if those sleepless nights weren't your brain malfunctioning, but your soul trying to get your attention? The world needs your anxiety. It needs your sensitivity. It needs your ability to feel deeply, to care intensely, to think thoroughly about consequences and possibilities. In a world of surface-level interactions and quick fixes, your depth is your anxiety gives you superpowers that others don't have. You notice details others miss. You think about angles others overlook. You care about outcomes others ignore. These aren't weaknesses. They're strengths that can change the world. The goal isn't to get rid of anxiety. The goal is to develop a new relationship with it, to see it as information rather than invasion, to treat it as guidance rather than interference. When anxiety shows up, it's bringing you a message. And that message isn't run away. The message is something here matters to you. Your task isn't to silence the message. It's to understand it, to listen to what it's trying to tell you about your values, your desires, your potential. Think about the people who seem fearless to you. The truth is, they're not fearless. They're fear-informed. They've learned to listen to their anxiety and extract the wisdom from it. They don't try to shut it down. They try to understand what it's telling them about what matters. Your anxiety is like a high-performance engine. It's powerful. It's sensitive. It requires proper maintenance and careful handling. But when you learn to work with it rather than against it, it can take you places you never dreamed possible. Every time you feel that familiar surge of anxiety, ask yourself, what is this energy trying to help me do? What is it trying to help me notice? What is it trying to help me achieve? Your anxiety isn't random. It's responsive, showing up for a reason. The same sensitivity that makes you anxious also makes you empathetic. The same alertness that keeps you up at night also helps you spot opportunities others miss. The same thoroughness that makes you overthink also helps you avoid mistakes others make. Your anxiety gives you an edge. While others are skimming the surface, you're diving deep. While others are reacting, you're reflecting. While others are jumping to conclusions, you're considering implications. These aren't liabilities. They're assets. Stop waiting at a crucial shift. Stop waiting for the anxiety to go away before you take action. Start taking action while the anxiety is still there. Because the anxiety isn't going to disappear. It's going to evolve from nervous energy into focused power. When you feel anxiety about speaking up in a meeting, it's because you have something valuable to say. When you feel anxiety about pursuing a dream, it's because that dream matters deeply to you. When you feel anxiety about making a change, it's because you're capable of more than you're currently doing. Your anxiety is like an internal compass pointing toward your true north. It's showing you where you need to grow, what you need to address, what you need to pursue. The things that make you most anxious are often the things that will help you grow the most. But growth isn't comfortable. Transformation isn't peaceful. Evolution isn't calm. Real change happens in the space between comfort and chaos. That's where your anxiety lives. That's where your power lives. When you understand this, everything changes. Instead of seeing anxiety as something that happens to you, you start seeing it as something that happens for you. Instead of trying to calm down, you start trying to channel that energy into positive. Your anxiety isn't a malfunction of your mind. It's a function of your potential. It shows up most powerfully when you're on the verge of something important, when you're about to step into your greatness, when you're about to make a difference in the world. Think about the times you've pushed through anxiety to do something important. Remember how alive you felt? Remember how proud you were afterward? That wasn't despite the anxiety, it was because of it. The anxiety gave you the energy, the focus, and the drive to do something remarkable. But here's what most people never realize. Your anxiety isn't just about you, it's about your contribution to the world. When you feel anxious about sharing your ideas, it's because those ideas could help others. When you feel anxious about making a change, it's because that change could inspire others. Your sensitivity, your thoroughness, your deep thinking, these are gifts the world desperately needs. In a culture of quick fixes and surface solutions, your depth is revolutionary. Your anxiety is calling you to bring these gifts into the world. But you have to be willing to feel uncomfortable. You have to be willing to move forward while feeling uncertain. You have to be willing to trust that your anxiety is not your enemy. It's your ally in the pursuit of something meaningful. Every time you feel that familiar tightness in your chest, that racing of your thoughts, that flutter in your stomach, remember, this isn't weakness. This is your power source charging up. This isn't your limitation. This is your launching pad. Your anxiety is like a storm gathering energy. Most people run for shelter trying to avoid the intensity. But what if you learn to dance in the rain? What if you learn to harness the lightning? What if you learn to ride the winds of your own power? The world doesn't need more people who never feel anxious. The world needs people who know how to transform anxiety into action. People who understand that sensitivity is strength. People who realize that deep feeling leads to deep impact. You are not broken. You don't need to be fixed. You don't need to be calmer, more relaxed, more like everyone else. You need to be more fully yourself. You need to understand that your anxiety is part of your power, not a barrier. Right now, in this moment, something within you is awakening. A new understanding is taking root. A new possibility is emerging. The very anxiety that you've been fighting against is about to become your greatest ally. But this transformation requires something from you. It requires you to make a fundamental shift in how you see yourself and your sensitivity. It requires you to stop apologizing for feeling deeply, thinking thoroughly, caring intensely. The next time anxiety shows up, instead of asking, how can I make this go away? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Instead of seeing it as an interruption, see it as information. Instead of treating it as an enemy, treat it as an... Your anxiety shows up most powerfully around the things that matter most to you. It's like an internal alarm system saying, pay attention, this is important. When you feel anxious about a decision, it's because that decision matters. When you feel anxious about a relationship, it's because that connection matters. But most people get this backward. They think if something makes them anxious, they should avoid it. What a tragic misunderstanding. The things that make you most anxious are often the things that will help you grow the most. Think about the moments in your life when you felt most proud of yourself. Were they moments of comfort, or were they moments when you felt anxious but moved forward anyway? Your finest moments weren't when anxiety was absent. They were when your sensitivity isn't a curse. It's a gift. Your deep thinking isn't overthinking. It's thorough thinking. Your intense caring isn't too much. It's exactly what the world needs. But you have to stop fighting these qualities and start channeling them. When anxiety rises in your chest, that's not weakness showing up. That's power charging up. When your mind races with possibilities, that's not confusion. That's creativity in motion. When your heart pounds before something important, that's not fear. That's courage gathering strength. Every great achievement in human history was born in moments of anxiety. Every innovation, every breakthrough, every act of courage began with someone feeling exactly what you're feeling right now. The difference wasn't in what they felt. It was in what they did with those feelings. Your anxiety is like a surge of electricity. In its raw form, it can feel overwhelming. But when properly channeled, it can light up the world. Just as electricity needs proper circuits to become useful, your anxiety needs proper channels to become... Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting to feel completely ready. Stop waiting for the anxiety to disappear. The perfect moment is now. You're as ready as you'll ever be. And the anxiety isn't going to disappear. It's going to... Every time you feel that familiar surge of anxiety, remember, this is your power source. This is your energy rising. This is your potential awakening. The question isn't, how can I get rid of this? The question is, what is this energy trying to help me achieve? Your anxiety isn't trying to limit you. It's trying to launch you. It's not trying to hold you back. It's trying to prepare you for something important. But you have to be willing to stay in the discomfort long enough for the transformation to occur. Think about a time when anxiety tried to stop you from doing something important. Remember how it felt in your body. Remember how your mind tried to talk you out of it. Remember how you wanted to retreat to safety. Now remember what happened when you move forward anyway. The anxiety doesn't have to go away for you to take action. You don't have to feel confident to be courageous. You don't have to feel ready to begin. You just have to be willing to bring all that energy with you as you move forward. Your anxiety is like a loyal friend who's trying to protect you. But sometimes this friend is overprotective. Sometimes this friend forgets that you're capable of handling challenges. Sometimes this friend needs to be reminded that growth requires risk. When you understand this, everything changes. Instead of fighting your anxiety, you start listening to it. Instead of trying to silence it, you start trying to understand it. Instead of seeing it as an obstacle, you start seeing it as an ally. But this isn't just about you. Your transformation isn't just for your benefit. When you learn to channel your anxiety into power, you become a living example for others. You show them what's possible. You light the way for those who are still struggling in the dark. The world needs your sensitivity. It needs your thoroughness. It needs your deep thinking and your intense caring. In a culture of quick fixes and surface solutions, your depth is revolutionary. Your anxiety is calling you to bring these gifts into the world. Every time you feel that familiar tightness in your chest, remember, this isn't weakness. This is your power source charging up. This isn't your limitation. This is your launching pad. This isn't something to overcome. This is something to harness. Your anxiety is like a storm gathering energy. Most people run for shelter, trying to avoid the intensity. But what if you learn to dance in the rain? What if you learn to harness the lightning? What if you learn to ride the winds of your own power? The world doesn't need more people who never feel anxious. The world needs people who know how to transform anxiety into action. People who understand that sensitivity is strength. People who realize that deep feeling leads to deep impact. You are not broken. You don't need to be fixed. You don't need to be calmer, more relaxed, more like everyone else. You need to be more fully yourself. You need to understand that your anxiety is part of your power, not a barrier to it. Right now, you have a choice. You can continue to fight against your anxiety, treating it as an enemy to be defeated. Or you can begin to work with it, treating it as an ally to be understood. You can continue to see it as a weakness to be overcome. Or you can begin to see it as a power to be harnessed. But remember, your anxiety isn't trying to stop you. It's trying to prepare you for something important. It's not trying to limit you. It's trying to launch you. It's not trying to break you down. It's trying to break you open to your own potential. Take a moment right now to feel the energy in your body. Feel the aliveness in your chest, the tingling in your fingertips, the thoughts racing through your mind. This isn't disorder. This is power waiting to be directed. This isn't malfunction. This is momentum gathering force. Every single person who has ever done anything remarkable felt exactly what you're feeling right now. Every person who has ever changed the world, built something meaningful, or made a difference in someone's life experience these same sensations. Your anxiety is speaking to you in the language of energy. When you feel that familiar surge, it's not saying stop. It's saying something important is happening here. It's not saying retreat. It's saying it's not saying you can't handle this. It's saying this matters enough to bring your full attention to it. The very qualities that make you anxious are the same qualities that make you powerful. Your ability to anticipate possibilities. That's not overthinking, that's strategic planning. Your sensitivity to others' feelings, that's not weakness, that's emotion. Your tendency to prepare thoroughly, that's not perfectionism, that's excellence in action. The power isn't in getting rid of the anxiety. The power is in channeling it. Just as a river's force can either flood a valley or generate electricity, your anxiety can either overwhelm you or energize you. The difference lies in how you direct it. When you feel anxious about speaking your truth, that's your wisdom gathering strength. When you feel anxious about pursuing a dream, that's your potential pressing to emerge. When you feel anxious about making a change, that's your future self calling you forward. Your sensitivity is your superpower. In a world that often moves too fast, feels too little, and thinks too superficially, your depth is revolutionary. Your thoroughness is transformative. Your intense caring is exactly what the world needs right now. Stop apologizing for feeling deeply. Stop trying to be more like those who feel less. Stop waiting for the anxiety to disappear before you take action. Start understanding that this energy, this intensity, this alertness, this aliveness is your... Every moment of anxiety is an opportunity for alchemy. Every racing thought is raw material for insight. Every sleepless night is an invitation to deeper understanding. But you have to stay with it. You have to be willing to feel the discomfort and move forward anyway. Think about the regrets people share at the end of their lives. They rarely regret the things they did. They regret the things they were too afraid to do, the conversations they never had, the chances they never took, the dreams they never pursued because anxiety held them back. But you're learning a different way. You're learning to see anxiety not as a wall, but as a door, not as a stop sign, but as a starting line. Not as your weakness, but as your power source. Every flutter of nervousness, every racing thought, every moment of uncertainty is energy waiting to be channeled into something meaningful. Your anxiety is like a compass pointing toward your true north. It shows up most powerfully around the things that matter most to you. Instead of trying to silence it, start listening to what it's telling you about your values, your desires, your potential. The world needs your sensitivity. It needs your thoroughness. It needs your deep thinking and your intense caring, but most importantly, it needs you to stop fighting these qualities and start channeling them into meaningful action. When you embrace your anxiety as power, everything changes. The racing thoughts become rapid planning. The nervous energy becomes fuel for action. The heightened awareness becomes increased insight. Nothing about you needs to be fixed, everything. Your anxiety isn't a glitch in your system. It's a feature of your power. It's not trying to stop you, it's trying to prepare you. It's not trying to limit you, it's trying to launch you into something meaningful. From this moment forward, make a commitment to yourself. When anxiety rises, don't run from it, run with it. Don't fight it, focus it. Don't resist it, redirect it. Your anxiety isn't your enemy. It's your ally in the pursuit of something. The goal isn't to be anxious less. The goal is to understand that anxiety is the energy of growth, the fuel of transformation, the power source of meaningful change. Your task isn't to get rid of it. Your task is to harness it. You are not broken. You are not too sensitive. You are not overthinking. You are exactly as you need to be. Your anxiety isn't a barrier to your power. It is your power in its raw form, waiting to be channeled. The choice is yours. You can continue to fight against your anxiety, treating it as a weakness to be overcome, or you can begin to work with it, treating it as the power source it truly is. You can continue to see it as something that's holding you back, or you can begin to see it as something that's trying to propel you forward. The time has come to stop waiting for the anxiety to go away. The time has come to stop apologizing for feeling deeply. The time has come to transform your relationship with this incredible source of energy within you. Your anxiety is speaking to you right now. It's telling you that something here matters, that something important is happening, that something within you is ready to transform. Will you listen? Will you harness this power? Will you allow your anxiety to become the fuel for your transformation? The answer lies within you. And it's rising up right now, in this very moment, in that familiar feeling we call anxiety. But now you know the truth. That feeling isn't your weakness. It's your power. It's not the end. It's just the beginning.